Hello, Kirby World, and welcome to another edition of Recruiting with Randy here at the World Headquarters in Cleveland, Ohio. What I want to talk today about is just the consistency in Kirby, all right? And in my 4 decades of being in Kirby, I've noticed that there are some things that are constant. The one thing is recruiting, all right? One of the reasons why I recruit is we want growth through the company. That's the second thing I notice is that always that's happening is that Kirby's always growing because of consistent recruiting. And then the third thing is promotion. And promotion is why we recruit. The reason why we have so many locations with new DTs opening up and new FDs opening up and growing organizations is because they're recruiting consistency. So the thing I've learned is that the one thing itself, Kirby is constant. What goes up and down, what's volatile is not Kirby, it's not recruiting, it's people. So if you start to understand that, then maybe you can institute some of these ideas and strategies I'm going to talk about today to make you have more consistency. Because it's not about intensity, it's about consistency. The more constant we are at recruiting and concentrating on things we can control and only worrying about those and don't worry about the things you can't control. So if it is about consistency then and control, here's just some quick tips for you I think that might help you. You can control the number of platforms you have ads on. You can control the budget that you're spending. Those things are essential in starting to get contacts for you to be able to interview and recruit. You can't control, though, the number of people that actually respond to the ad. That's the volatility part. So whether your ads are hitting or not, make sure that they're in and make sure you're spending a budget that's adequate for the growth that you want your distributorship to be. Another thing that you can't control is, all right, the quality of the people sometimes that answer. But that's why we have Kirby Life, because you can control Kirby Life. Kirby Life allows you to target people that are the ones that you want to see in your organizations, the one you want to grow with. That's why Kirby Life recruits are so successful, because we target the more talented, more positive, more energetic, more enthusiastic people. You know, you meet them everywhere. You meet them at gas stations, you meet them at grocery stores, you meet them at checkout lines, you meet them at Starbucks, you meet them in movie theaters, you meet them in customers' homes. So think about Kirby Life, because that's a consistency that's always been there. In fact, I'm sure you've heard that number before, that up until maybe the late 1970s, Kirby only grew through Kirby Life recruits. It wasn't until the 70s and 80s and the 1900s that Kirby started actually using outside sources like newspapers and maybe yard signs and flyers as they became more available. And then of course now with social media, you know, that's another outlet we use with all the platforms we have to recruit positive people. So it's really coming down to the image that you promote, because you can control your attitude, you can control your image, you can control your tonality, you can control all the things that are making an impression on the people you're going to be recruiting. Because if they never meet anybody else in Kirby, if their only contact a potential recruit has of ever meeting someone in Kirby is you want that impression to be lasting and you want it to be strong and positive. Because I run into people all the time and they say, are you still with Kirby? I remember I worked with you, or I interviewed with you, or I purchased a Kirby from your company. And all those things are always positive feedback that you like, because you know it was being done right as you were going through. So the consistency, you know, I know we would love to have large classes of like 20, 30 countdowns or 20, 30 new recruits coming through. And those are great to have, but it's going to be more about just being consistent and not the intensity there. So the large classes are awesome, but being consistent and recruiting every week and making sure you're actually, you know, focusing on the things that are going to retain people, which are things you can control. That's what's going to help your organization grow more than anything else. So if there's some things that really can help you, it's just remember that the details matter. When you're recruiting someone, the way you act, the way you talk, the way you look, the image that you promote, the opportunity that you're providing, the environment, the culture that you're creating in your interview process and even in your training, all help that candidate and that recruit start to want to come into the Kirby business and choose it as a career. Because I found Kirby by accident. I didn't find it on purpose. I was not personally recruited. I wish I was, but I wasn't. But I have personally recruited a lot of people, and I created that environment for them, and that's why they came in and went on to become successful in their own level of endeavors, what they wanted their distributorship to be. So Think about the ideas that we talk about, start to institute them in your recruiting program, and if you do that, I promise you'll be a more effective recruiter, and we'll see you at the Elite Recruiting Team that's going to be happening in February of 2026. All full-time recruiters, I should have gotten a letter from me along with the ERT team, the flyer, and describing the qualifications for you to get there. But it's going to be something, it's going to be a trip to remember, so you want to get those qualifications in early so you can start to book your trip early. So until then, success and good luck with all your recruiting.